Okay, so maybe the whole mono tower ballista thing didn't really work out for us yet. All right, that's fine. It's okay. I'm not mad about it. Let's try duo tower. I'm sick. I haven't slept. I don't feel great. But I want to play rogue tower. And I think part of getting back under control over my content schedule is probably going to be working when I'm not 100%. And like, here's the thing. The trick to working when you're not 100% is to not work at 100%. Just work like nice and chill. We're making a cool video. We're playing a game that I like. There's no pressure to produce like amazing content. I misplaced that tower. And we'll just expand. Now, I am of the opinion that eco is everything. Eco is literally everything. And I think probably our best bet for doing a double tower build, a 2-tower build, will probably be the mortar. If we go for a mortar, I think that's our best shot at doing a 2-tower build. Let's put 1 mortar beside this house, and then 2 ballistas. We'll expand, and then we'll place another ballista. And this should probably cover things. +1 health damage to mortar. I mean, shields are honestly they're, like the thing that I've learned. I feel like in the super late game is that shields are everything. Basically, nothing else matters except how much damage can you do to shields. So, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing I care about is shields. And whether or not I can deal with them. And this early mortar and stuff, it probably won't do much for us in the long run, but it should be fine. 5% slow and ballista is a really good early pickup. Quite good. Let's do maybe another mortar. Well, we have to kind of wait for the money to come in is the thing. I think it's okay, ballista spot. I think I'll just get them to target most health. Just target whatever is the strongest thing. Honestly, I've been kind of coming to the conclusion that I just should get these things to target whatever has the most everything. Because the rest of that stuff, like the stuff that has low health and stuff, what that'll do is ideally that'll just run through the gauntlet to an area where there's towers that aren't currently shooting at stronger stuff. So my logic is if I build like a really long sort of train, I think this is actually a really good spot for a mortar. So it's kind of the working theory right now. Is that maybe we just build a really long maze. We target like most health, most armor, most shields. And our bias will be towards whatever the strongest unit is on the map at any time. And like if they make it through, that's like, you know, okay, that sucks. But it means we're always focusing fire on whatever the strongest thing on the map is. And ideally, again, with the ballistas doing a little bit of slow, like the strongest thing should be held up. I don't know if it like makes sense. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I do feel like ballista slow plus the mortar AoE damage actually helps a lot to deal with the whole bunching problem we were having as a result of the snow. I am going to take haunted houses here, and that's because I'm doing a full eco build where we go full into economy and we try to make that work for us. Most health, most armor, and most shield. So I'm like, just target whatever the strongest guy on the map is, you know what I mean? Now maybe this won't work because of like the trolls with like the really good regen and stuff like that, but I'm hoping that perhaps it'll come, you know, to some sort of fruition. We do have an early banditry, we have like a good mortar, we have a good setup here. It's feeling okay. You know what I'm saying? And you know, if it'll work out, it'll work out. I'm not really sure. +1 range on ballistas. I don't care about seance efficiency just yet. I would maybe pick that up later. +1 range on ballistas or enchanted bolts. I think range on ballistas is honestly kind of pretty good here. Let's go ahead and expand and we'll grab ourselves a mortar. It's like a good coverage mortar. Most health, most armor, most shield. Just like target that in that order. You know what I mean? That way you're focusing on things that just are strong. And maybe that's not an efficient way to do things, especially like if we're dealing with trolls. Maybe this isn't like good because like look, they're just regenerating all the health. Maybe we need a critical mass of ballista towers to make that work because they're just regenerating all the health damage that we've done back, right? And so this is like, but maybe that's only a problem early game. Maybe later on once we have status effects and stuff like that, it won't be a big deal. That's like my estimation maybe. And we have a huge battery of like just ballista towers here that'll just completely deal with the troll problem when they get through. Now, Mortar's doing poison damage is quite good. I do want the mana bank though. I think this is like my eco fully activated now. I think the only thing I'm missing is universities. But otherwise, I'm in great shape. Let's go ahead and keep building eco. We're ecoing is the goal here. So I guess whatever the fastest thing that's near death is also a good target for a ballista. Like the fastest thing that's near death, target that. Like have a battery of guys taking, like I think having a polity of what things target actually seems pretty good. But this is the duo tower build, and I'm already feeling pretty good here. A lot of these units are making it through with like barely nothing in the tank. And what are they walking through? Like 4 ballistas and a mortar to get to another 3 ballistas and a mortar? I think we've got this in the bag now. And we haven't done any tower upgrading. We haven't leveled up towers. We're just doing raw sort of tower. Gas shells, I mean, that's going to be good long term. I mean, this is pretty low poison damage, but I mean, I guess it is good long term if I pick up gas shells now. Like, I mean, it's okay. I think we can now double ballista this. You'll target, I guess, the slowest. So we have near death, the slowest near death, and then I guess we will have, I don't know, just near death. Whatever thing is the nearest death and furthest along, that's what you target. So like the AoE poison damage, this again is like a 25% damage increase, theoretically, for my mortars, which means my mortars now scale really, really nicely. I need to sit down and I need to do the math on like how the DPS of these ballista towers work out, so I can figure out what the most cost-efficient way to increase my damage in the late game is. Like, I really need to figure that out. Because I think in the mid-game, it's really important to upgrade your towers to certain thresholds, and then in the late game, it's important to just spam out as many towers as possible, get them to like level 10, and let the universities do their magic. So being able to get another 25% poison damage is like pretty interesting here. The +1 damage to health on mortars is okay. I think we go for gas shells too. And the road did split here, but it's kind of a favorable split, especially if this turns to the left. This is like a pretty decent choke point actually, because it's like there's good overlapping. Like this is a good spot for another mortar. We'll target most health, most armor, and most shield, and that should kind of distribute the shots a little bit, you know. We've got all of our houses in line. So the nice thing is the poison is also going to kind of somewhat counteract the regeneration on these guys. So these are eco towers, so they're not really a part of our, you know, our actual build. That's something to consider. Ballistas gain damage against shields. That's pretty good. I don't need a way to generate mana. Mortars gaining +1 damage to health seems pretty okay. Ballistas, enchanted bolts too would give us even more poison damage. And honestly, the only thing I care about is poison damage. Like, my entire build hinges on whether or not I can get enough poison damage. Like, if I can get bleed damage, that's fine. But I think I can push through the lack of bleed damage. I think that's something that can be done. Is maybe bleed damage isn't completely necessary. Also, I'm still not sure. Like, if we think of, like, if we look at a mortar, is it worth it to put a mortar on a hill? Like, okay, 20 base damage, 10 range. Then we put the mortar on the hill. And it's 23 base damage, 11.5 range. Does that feel like that's like a 15% damage increase baseline, plus a 15% range increase? Whereas if we compare that to like a ballista, right, 10 damage and 6 range, we put the ballista on the hill, and then it's like 13 damage and 7.5 range. So the ballista, like, I feel like is getting, as a percentage, more out of being on higher elevation. So this just feels correct to put ballistas on the higher land and maybe less so like mortars. I don't know. I feel like the lower your stats are, the more you benefit from being up high. It's just because it's a flat base damage modifier. I mean, ballistas fire twice as often, so they're getting the base damage twice as often. So they're getting a 30% boost to their base damage twice as often. I guess the mortars do have AoE, so you could make the argument that like the scaling on the mortars is just slightly better. And I am going pretty heavy on mortars right now, which, you know, is a thing that I'm liable to do at this stage of the game, is just go pretty heavy on mortars. I do like the gas shells. I think that's like a satisfying animation to have the like little blue trail. Let's continue to start adding just the occasional ballista to make sure we're targeting the right stuff and slowly bringing people down. And, you know, bringing them down from on high, bringing them down to our level as plebs is kind of the goal here. +5 range on mortars is disgusting. I think I will take that +5 range because that's a literally 55% range increase, which theoretically, like, if an enemy spends proportionally, that could be like a 33% damage increase if the enemy spends, like, because a 50% range increase is actually like, you know, a quadrupling of the area or whatever, however that works out. That means the enemies spend more time inside the fire range of the mortar, which means it spends more time targeting enemies, which means it spends more time leveling up its levels. So like a range increase on a mortar is actually potentially one of the most important things you can pick up. And in fact, it actually lets me put a mortar here that will now also contribute to like the entire thing. And I want to have the mortars kind of like somewhat overlapping in this main area, but also I want them to kind of be firing a little bit independently. Just a little bit until enemies get into this section, because if we concentrate fire a little bit too much, I feel like it's not going to like do well for us. I feel like it's going to hold us back. And I would like a ballista on every corner, ideally. You know, it's kind of like that mayor who's like, you know, the trains will run on time, or like, you know, we'll fix everything. It's like, I want a ballista on every street corner. You know what I mean? Shooting, you know, delinquent teenagers. That is my promise as mayor, actually, is we're going to put a ballista on every corner, and we'll just aim them at teenagers, you know? It'll take care of the antisocial behavior problem. Area of effect on mortars. So it feels like mortars are going to be my carry tower, and my ballistas are kind of like utility, which is totally how I would play this if I'm going for a dual tower build. I would like the +2 shield damage, and I would like the enchanted bolts, but I think this area of effect thing is just too good, and I'm totally, okay, we have ourselves, and this is actually not so bad, because we do have an out, but getting an early portal means that I would have liked if the kink in the road had been over here, but an early portal isn't the end of the world, because it means that certain towers, like these mortar towers, it's going to get some extra value over here, and then as long as we build this road out, we'll get to hit like different, like enemies will come in separate waves, which is what we want. We want the enemies to come in separate waves. We don't want them to all come at the same time, because they all come at the same time, then we're in a little bit of trouble. You know, our towers won't be able to deal with it. Although we are theoretically, you know, you could say mortar towers are a little bit better at dealing with that than maybe other types of towers. But, you know, I'm happy with the way that things are going right now. We've got ourselves a pretty darn good setup here. Lovely. Now, +5 range on mortars, again, talking about that. That's another... Now, this time it's only a 33% increase in, like, range, but that's also could be potentially, like, 2 to 3 times the actual area, which is why longbow range is also really good. Man, this is hard. Banditry is, like, so good, and the earlier we get it, the better. But, like, really, long-range ballistics and area of effect, these are so incredible as well. I'm going to go ahead and take banditry, and I'm going to make the portal early. And the reason why is because I can fit, like, probably a really nice ballista here. That, well, you know what? Without range, this ballista isn't great. But with range, this ballista is pretty damn good. So hopefully one day we'll pick up ballista range. I want you to target the... I'm actually going to get you to target near death and fastest and least health. Right? So I want you to target like the weak stuff, and I want you to like be sniping them out and taking them out, not letting the weak stuff get by me is like my goal here. Whether or not that'll actually work out for me is kind of like, you know, it might not, you know, come to fruition, but that's not the important point. The important point is that I have, you know, really, really good mortars, and I'm actually getting really good shop luck this run. It feels like my shop luck has kind of turned around. I'm not getting offered as much crap as I usually am. Poison bolts is really good, as is bigger area of effect. Bigger area of effect, I mean, like at this point we're all in on mortar coin, so why wouldn't we go even more in mortar coin? Let's go ahead and have this guy target most health, most armor, and most shield. And he's like an anti-Oogie tower. His job is to slow Oogie. And we probably want to do another one with the same targeting to slow Oogie, because we do have that 5% slow. And we want Oogie to be at the back of the squad. You know, we want Oogie to be... He's bringing up the rear, you know what I mean? That's what we want Oogie to do. So if we slow him enough, the mortar towers should do a really good job. And not necessarily always target Oogie. But they probably will focus fire Oogie now. And there it is. And now his health has started to come down. The gas is ticking. I think this is working okay for us. Like, and then whatever ballistas are hanging around will take care of that guy. So I think we've got Oogie in the bag. Now I wonder what we're going to get from the treasure chests. Because there's a really big problem with, like, treasure chests can poison your well. Because they have so few options. If you only get tower picks, that can just, like, screw your hand draw, like, really badly. +1 damage to health on mortars is okay. I think I would like quality over quantity now. My towers are beginning to level up. They're like level 5-ish. So the -1 base damage is at a point now where I'm not worried about that. Towers are beginning to level up. Let's go ahead and open. I'll take Seance now that we're going to be starting to run into the graves. And +3 mana per second. This feels pretty terrible. I'll bleed them dry. The problem is if I take bleed them dry, it poisons the draw pile. With a bunch of like bleeding cards, and I don't have any way to inflict bleed right now. So I'm just going to take sorcery, 3 mana regen. It's not amazing. It's not perfect. It will kind of help me with my haunted houses. That is really nice. Something to consider. Let's kind of just like fit in a few more ballistas, kind of targeting random stuff. And the thing here is the gas shells are nice because it's allowing me to whittle down the shields and armor of these guys a little bit faster than maybe I otherwise would have. And like the battery fire is working out pretty well. Plus we have like really, really big AoE. So even if we end up targeting something that's not like super optimal, I think we're going to be fine. Maybe put one ballista here that targets like most health, most armor, and most shields. Just in case anything gets through the end game, it'll be firing. I have 2 kind of doing that now. In case there's just like a bunched up group of enemies that makes it through. You know what I mean? It's not impossible. It's not unheard of. And as we're transitioning between, you know, an anti-armor kind of based economy to a shield economy, that's going to be something we have to keep in mind. But I am a big fan of the volleys of mortars that we're getting here. Like there's probably a decent amount of overkill because we have similar targeting and like insane range. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. We've got 5k in the bank. More slow, really powerful. Longbow 2, also quite powerful. I think getting slow here is okay. Like a 10% slow on a bolt is like pretty good. Let's start playing. Like let's start adding more ballistas here to the network. So this is our primary kill zone in here. This section here, and then this is like a secondary kill zone over here on the left. So let's try to fill out our primary kill zone first. And I think like getting every tower now to like level 5-ish, I'm going to go through and just like make sure everyone is like level 5-ish. Doesn't have to be perfectly level 5, but they will kind of passively level up a little bit on their own. Let's go through and pick up a few levels. Make sure everybody is good. And then we just add more ballistas. We want to target near death, I think. And their job is to just do a mixture of like targeting different enemies, like target the fastest, target near death. Okay, so we have now haunted houses. Unfortunately, not very good haunted housing spawns, but I'm hoping that these haunted houses pay off. I don't know if they're worth doing, but I'm going to go fully into haunted houses and see if, like, you know, is there any wind in those sails? You know what I mean? Like, we go full eco over here in terms of houses, and that seems to pay off. Maybe haunted houses, if we go fully into haunted houses, maybe that has some payoff, because the haunted house is relatively cheap, right? 100 gold, and it's already paid off, 7. Maybe the long-term, you know, economic return on that is actually quite good. But I am feeling pretty good. The double gas shells, the 100% gas, or 50% gas on my mortars now, I feel like has put me in, like, a decent position in terms of, like, the game's, you know, problems. And I like the diverse targeting on our ballistas is causing a little bit of bunching, which is good. So mana bolts and broadhead bolts. I think I don't want to take mana bolts right now. I think I'd like to go broadhead bolts because that opens up the option for bleed on my ballista towers. Let's continue to expand. And we're looking for graves. There's a full set of graves right there. Completely surrounded. This one only has room for 1. And I don't know, at the end of the game, we are going to be able to see if this return on investment works out, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not liking the bats. The bats are getting through. Maybe I need to do something about the bats. I don't know, they don't seem to be getting too far. And when they do get somewhere, they get killed. So it's not too bad. 25% bleed or banditry. Now, I'm going to be dealing with vampires soon, so I feel like I need that bleed. But the extra 2 gold per kill is huge. Especially, again, if we go for an eco build, we should commit. And if we go for an eco build, we should probably start setting up another kill zone. So like a mortar here. I'll do like, you know, most health, most armor, and most shields is the targeting on these. These towers scale pretty well off of levels, actually. They're a little bit... They're quite cheap, actually, believe it or not, the mortar towers. Any room for any more haunted houses? Nope. But like for the sake of this haunted house, it's collected a total of 20 gold. Is that worth it? I don't know. Ooh, that's a satisfying blast explosion area right there. That's really, really nice. I do feel like the blast area on the mortar is key. Like if you can get that blast radius, it makes such a difference. It really does. Like you catch so much more. It lets you scale so much more damage off of your mortars. And then, you know, ballistas kind of do the other work. But I really love everything about this game. The isometric view, the beautiful graphics, the simple cubic art style, the really satisfying, like simple, very clear graphical effects. This is like if I had designed a game and wanted a game like that I had made, this would be a kind of game that I would make. I feel like this is the kind of game that I would want to make. Something that does something very specific, but very well. Now we are running into mana issues. And, you know, it's not too early to pick up the university. It will poison the well a little bit in terms of card draw, but honestly, hitting the university stage, like with the with both feet on the pavement or whatever, actually seems kind of like a good idea. Let's get some more haunted houses because again, we're burning mana for that. And I guess let's continue to build up our primary kill zone here. I'm going to let some of these ballistas just be targeted like, you know, near death and then like fastest. You know, whatever random targeting algorithm will just like distribute the slow among the greatest number of people. And honestly, like progress is not a bad target if that's what you want. If you want just like to bunch people up, targeting progress is like, it's like the crab bucket. You know what I mean? It's the crab bucket deluxe. Just target whoever's at the front of the pack. It'll slow everyone down. It'll bring everyone closer together. Boom, the mortar then is getting more value. Now, it doesn't work perfectly. It's not a perfect analogy, but I think it works pretty well. Oh, look at that. Did you see that mortar shot there? That was absolutely disgusting. Broadhead Bolts 2 is quite good. Eventually, this does lead to good things. I don't need anti-armor damage, honestly. Like, I mean, actually, just applying more poison across an entire map seems pretty good. And just getting more of these haunted houses down. Really? The gold? I don't know if the gold is good yet. Is it helping? I don't know. Like, is banditry helping? I feel like banditry is helping. But is this gold income worth it? I just can't tell yet. Now, this is issues. But oh, look at like the hits when they hit correctly, it seems to do like insanity. When they don't hit correctly, it's kind of whatever. But when it does hit, I'm actually quite satisfied with it. So gas seems to be like the thing that I have going for me right now is that we're doing lots of gas damage, which means we should have absolutely no problem dealing with shields in the late game. Because just everything we do does gas damage. Like just everything. Everything does gas damage. So we're very specialized towards gas damage, which might mean that we want to go down the gas line of improvements. Now, +3 research. Okay, we actually have a ton of really good options here. Well, I say that. We have like 2 really good options. We have long-range ballistics, which, again, increases the total surface coverage of the mortar on the entire map, which increases the total amount of shooting that it does, which is like a big deal. Or we could get that 3% research. I think we can go for the mortar range because that's a dead-end node. Like, there will be no more nodes after that. So it doesn't, like, poison our well in terms of resources. Also, I feel like I should get a benefit for putting a house on a hill. Like, do you know the sacrifice I'm making to put that house on that hill? Like, really? You think this is easy to make these decisions that I make here as the rogue tower commander, right? This is a difficult life that I'm leading. I have to make careful interpolations between the data. Man, holy shit, the range on these mortar towers. Oh my god. The range might actually have been a mistake. Because now the shots are arcing so high that I don't even know when they're going to land. They're landing so slowly. Maybe that was a DPS loss, in fact. But I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Because it ends up with us. Well, I mean, there is no way to guarantee that the mortar attacks the biggest crowd of units. It attacks whatever the strongest thing is. And which is what we wanted to do. We wanted to focus fire and bring things down to a level of health where the ballista can deal with it. That's kind of the goal. So if this is here's the thing. If things aren't getting through the maze is working. Don't criticize the maze if the maze is working. Now here's bleed. Bleed is big because it prevents health regeneration, which we are going to run into with vampires. So I'll grab that. There we go. Any more haunted houses? We have potentially another haunted house here and one here. Yes, sir. Thank you. So how am I feeling about this? The bleed is really, really good. It's good against vampires, is the thing. And it's also like just a 25% damage increase for the ballista tower. Like, realistically, that's what it is. No matter what you say, what do you think about it? I don't think I will get any bleed increases, though, because I don't do enough bleed damage to justify increasing the amount of bleed ticking that I'm doing. You know what I mean? Now, I'm wondering... And we still have mortars. I'm worried about this. The fact that units are getting through makes me want more ballistas and stuff like that. And maybe it's time to go to a slightly higher level with these guys and like really bring them up to a level of competence of like level 8 or 9. But it seems to be mostly working for me right now. Like the kill zone is working. That's the thing. Trust in the kill zone. It's all in the like if you build a good kill zone, you know the oyster is yours or whatever. Or the world is an oyster or something like that anyway. Well, I would love +2 damage and mortar shields. I think getting that bonus research early is a game changer, because it means the second I plop down a university next to a shrine, boom, I've got that 3% locked in. I get to roll that dice more and more. And pretty soon here, my maze is going to be locked in. So I'm going to want to build out now as much of my maze overlap as possible to be maximizing usage of these +1 tiles and the +2 tiles on ballistas, so that we can start to build off that scaling. The really big scaling from universities. That is what we're looking for here. So having like a really, really robust kill zone is quite important to me. And just having towers that are kind of good at everything, have good base damage, seems okay to me. Now, I'm not sure how I get this base damage up higher, but it would be really, really cool if I could figure out like all towers gain +1 base damage or something. Maybe that would be interesting. But I feel like this battery of ballistas now and mortars is in a good spot. Also, these mortars, they're actually relatively accurate, surprisingly, considering how far away they're firing at things. Like, they're doing an okay job. They miss a little bit because they're often firing at things that are long dead. I think enchanted bolts too is totally reasonable here. Shields are obviously always going to be our biggest issue. So we just take more haunted houses. Not that one. That one's not a haunted house. I really feel like the haunted house might actually be the worst option of all of them, but that doesn't mean it's like a bad, maybe that doesn't mean it's a bad option. Like, something being the worst option is maybe it's still not a bad option, you know, although there's always opportunity cost. It's always hard to tell if you're doing things right, you know. You don't get good feedback usually. You get kind of confusing, nebulous feedback a lot from this game, which is what I like about it. It's fuzzy. There's a lot of now I am going to sit down probably after this game and like really hammer out the numbers of, look, okay, like if I have a tower on like flat land and I start upgrading it, like where does that start to lead in terms of DPS? Like, how much DPS does a single flat land ballista do versus like investing into another ballista, and where does that like income curve stuff meet? And I think there's probably somebody who's already done that, but like I want to do that analysis myself. I find that fun and interesting. Like, I'm gonna run the numbers. And here's the thing, I'll probably make mistakes, but it'll be fun regardless. The zombie Oogie is getting like supremely focused fire, although that's kind of working because a lot of the stuff behind him is relatively slow and is getting caught up to him. But man, that total amount of gas applied is like insane. And even these little ghost dudes now, they get picked up by the ballistas and shredded relatively quickly. Because once you have a critical mass of ballista fire, it becomes like every ballista becomes an AoE attack, because they're shooting into a crowd and their ballistas carry on through. Here we go. Now, I would like Seance too, but scholarships +2 research bonus. We get that research rolling early. +1 range on ballistas. I'll take that. That's good. Mana bolts is scary to do, but I will do a level 1 mana bolts. And then +2 shield damage on mortars is like totally it. This is totally the thing. Let's add a few more mana banks. We're going to need a lot of mana banks this round, I feel, to catch up with our mana consumption. And the big thing, man, this is such a good combined kill zone with all these houses here. This is definitely going to, once I have all like the high terrain used up over here, this is going to form a second kill zone over here. It's a fantastic, fantastic kill zone. I think my main goal here though is to try to get as many research clicks as possible. Like, just go max research. And I feel like there needs to be like a mathematical, you know, there probably just isn't. Like, maybe there's like a number you go to. Maybe I just all in shields. Maybe I just all in shields. Maybe that's what I do. If I all in shield damage, it seems to be the thing that we struggle the most with in the late game. And just hope that we can carry through on the other stats. Because if we really think about it, if we max out like the ballista tower's anti-shield damage, we get a chance to get +1 shield damage across our entire map. Whereas if we put down a university, we get that chance every time we click the expand button. You know what I mean? So yeah, I like universities just seemed like the thing to invest into as soon as possible. Like, we're going to be popping down universities that are rolling D20s like the first turn that we get access to universities. You know what I mean? And hey, maybe for the shield things, we want them to be rolling D10s. +1 research. Again, this is just such good scaling. I need to take it. Where's my research? There we go. First research. Boom, boom, boom. Instantaneously, we're already doing 6%. That's huge value. Maybe we go up to 12%. Maybe that's the magic number. I don't really care about health and armor, but if we can get rid of shields really well, maybe that's the trick. I don't know if I've over or under invested in here. The problem is every click is quite expensive, so I think it's better to invest a little bit conservatively in our universities at first, while we continue to expand our ballista network. You know, just build up that base damage a little, get things going. I would love an ability to just click and mass upgrade an attribute on towers. That would be kind of cool too. There's like a little bit of functional stuff that I feel is missing, like managing aggro and what towers are targeting and stuff like that is a little bit finicky, and you can't. It's hard to place. Like it's hard to place a ballista behind a mortar tower here. There's like one pixel where the game is like, absolutely, you can put that here, but any other pixel and it's a nope. You know what I mean? There's a few little gripes with the game that I have. But generally, I think I'm relatively impressed and happy with it. The one downside of not having much killing going on up here is that it takes a while for these slow-ass zombies to walk their way into the dead zone. +3 damage to shields, again, really good. Extra poison damage on our ballistas, also really, really good. It means we're stacking up even more poison. +1 damage to health. I feel like EMP +3 damage to shields, that's the thing. That is like the thing that is going to do us work here. University. We've already hit 1 health damage. Boom, boom, boom. 3 more universities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I should probably do the math on this. Like, what is like, so this is 20, 60, 120, 200, 300, and then 420. So I've invested about 1,000 gold in each university. Maybe 1 extra click is the way to do it. You go up to 13%. That way you get that nice, 1 in 6 chance, roughly speaking, of getting an upgrade on shield damage. Which again, the shield damage is the white whale that we're chasing here. Most health, most armor, most shield. It is the thing that haunts our dreams at night, is enemy shield damage. Now I'm really loving the fact that we have just that little bit of passive bleed, which is preventing all of this healing. I would like more of my mortars to land in these crowds. There's a little bit of crowded mortar landing, but it's kind of dispersed and it's not, I'm trusting the plan. I'm trusting in the plan. The plan exists, therefore I'm trusting it. And maybe that's not, maybe that hasn't always worked out for people, but it seems to be working out for me right now. And I'm going to continue to trust the plan. Now, 5% crit across all towers is really, really good. Extra range in our longbows and extra 25% bleed. All of these things are really, really nice. I think I'm going to take the 5% crit. That just feels like absolutely great. Now we have room for another university here. Let's bring that up to the solid 13%. That way, I don't know. Is that the level of investment I want to go to? Maybe I go to 16%. Get that. What is that? It's 13%. Or sorry, 13% is like a 1 in 8 chance roughly, and 16% is a 1 in 6. So maybe I need to go higher, right? Maybe I'm not rolling the dice hard enough here. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being unlucky. Do I just full YOLO in and make sure that I'm getting, do I full YOLO onto magic? Do I build 1 university and just get a guaranteed shield damage every round? Or do I continue the way that I'm doing things? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Again, because you're not sure what's happening. And so you're always trying to figure out heuristically, okay, this kind of worked for me last time, but I don't actually really have a way to measure that, but it kind of felt like it worked. Which is kind of, honestly, that's where most games are best, is when you're in that uncertainty area where games are, incredibly engaging, but you're not sure if things are working. But you want to keep trying new things. That's the thing that really hooks me, which is why this game has me completely hooked. I'm absolutely just completely enamored with it. Now let's have a look at some of these mana banks. Right, 141 gold. That's pretty okay. That's pretty okay. But then we check some of these houses back here. This is 1,700 gold. Total. I think these are orders of magnitude in a difference here. 10% crit chance on mortars is quite good. Do I want to crit? I think critting mortar towers is actually incredible. I think we take crit on mortar, because now some of these mortar towers are up to 26% crit, which is really, really damn good. Let's go through and go to 15% shields. Maybe that's a reasonable place to go to. You know what? Let's do 16%. 1, 2, 3. We're all in. We seem to be holding. So maybe investing in more in university outcomes is this is like investing in education. Do you know what I mean? Maybe this has unknown payoffs in the future. Maybe we go all the way to 20% on some of these guys. 18%. Let's go to 18%. Let's do it. On the shield damage, because the shield damage is the thing that really, can mess you up in the late game. And then we'll place down 3 new universities. They already have 6%, so we only got 1 shield. The expected return here is so high, and we're just not hitting it. But we have a lot of time to try to hit it. That's the thing no one tells you, is we've invested early. We're getting that compounding interest. It's gonna pay off eventually. Copium. The lack of burn damage is a significant problem for me. I'm hoping that like the overwhelming fire of my ballistas over here we'll deal with the burn damage when it get, like the lack of burn damage when it gets here. No, that's my hope. Is that a good strategy for most of life's problems? Probably not, but I feel like there's an awful lot of people who have gotten by with just doing like the bare minimum and hoping. Honestly, it's actually a winning strategy if you really think about it. Like, think about the people who have failed up in their lives and like how little work they've actually done. Like me, for example. Like, I mean, I've done a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but I've definitely failed upwards in life to be a YouTuber, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted this hard. This is probably like the job I've always wanted the most in my life since I was like 16. YouTube was only invented when I was 16, you know what I mean? I was like, I want to make videos on YouTube. Like, who is the guy in 2002 that wants to make... 2004. Let me make sure how old... Yeah, 2004. Who is the guy in 2004 who wants to make YouTube videos as a living? That's just always what I've wanted to do. I just wanted to make videos about video games. Like, even before YouTube was a thing, I think it was like the year 2002, maybe 2001, I would hang out with my friend PJ's and we would like just make dumb little YouTube... We would make like little Windows Movie Maker videos on his computer. And I didn't have it, so I would want to go over to his house and play with it. I was just like insanely... engaged by the concept. That research breakthrough, another 5% crit chance across all towers. That is huge, by the way. Let's expand here. We got another health damage. Now this is a double. This is actually probably like tier 0 university spawn over here. Like, this is an like, we only got 2 more universities out of this occult shrine. Really, really bad spawning. If I had known that that was possible, I probably would have picked a different place to put this. But let's go up to the sacred. What I hope is sacred 18% on magic studies. I don't know if this is the right move. I'm hoping and copium. I'm hoping and coping, as they say, that it's the right place to go. But you know, it really depends on whether or not if the ballistas can carry us, which I think is like a weird thing to say considering how much we've been reliant on mortars to carry us. But if the ballistas can carry us through this like difficult time, I think we're going to be okay. The nice thing is, actually, I'm kind of tempted to set up a mortar battery over here so that like only things inside the kill zone are being targeted. This feels like a really good place for a mortar battery. Like, I'm not joking. Most health, most armor, most shield, then like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just a few extra levels just to get that damage up a little. Because these mortars over here, they're like firing off at the random ass crowd here on the left. But these mortars here, they're focusing on like the big guys, the big center mass of the crowd of enemies. The problem with the range on the mortar is like the mortar shell takes so long to land that by the time it's landed, it's like, dude, it's Tuesday and you just like hit a crowd. You need to relax. You fired a mortar, you know, that we needed on, you know, Wednesday, and it's now like the Friday week, and you've just like destroyed a playground that we built in the intervening time after you launched your shell. Like, that's how long it takes. Man, these are really bad options. Really, really terrible options. I don't love any of this. You know what? HE shells, whatever, fine. We'll take extra health damage on our things, even though I hate it. And the real question is, am I continuing to develop this kill zone, or do I build up the kill zone here? And I feel like there is a case to be made for there to be a secondary kill zone. Like, this is like not bad location for like a little bit of a kill zone, you know? Like, it's not going to be the greatest kill zone in the world. But honestly, who cares about all this stuff? This could be dealt with all these ballistas. We want to start dealing with the stuff coming in, the pipeline, down the ways over here. I should probably also be investing heavily. How have we got 3 health damage and like no shield? How, like, what are like the statistics? I need somebody to run the actual statistical probability that this is the outcome that we get based on the investment that we've done in our universities. Like, I swear to God, this is like, you know what this is like? This is like people who went to college in the 2000s and were told that it'll secure them like a good job. And then they come out of college, they got, you know, 100 to 200 grand in debt, and then there's no jobs. And it's like, excuse me, sir, I invested in myself. Where's my return on investment? Now, the realistic point of view there is that actually it's just that the value of a, you know, college degree relative to the rest of society, like the relative to the rest of the skills in society, has fallen slightly, relatively speaking, but it's still worth somewhere in the region of like $400,000 to $600,000 on average across an entire lifetime if you have a college degree. And oh my God, they're actually making it with panic stations. What do I do? Target progress. I think we just lost. What happened? Why are we? It's the lack of burn damage. Okay, so burn damage is mandatory. We've learned these things. We know that burn damage is mandatory, and we still ignored it. But here's the thing: death tax was 5% of our income. That's not ignorable. Also, I think we had like a little bit of a mana issue there. I think I didn't. Yeah. That's the problem. Yeah, I didn't secure enough mana. Okay, so we're making rookie mistakes. We're making the same mistakes we've made before, but we are potentially a step closer to where we want to be with Rogue Tower.